Tiger, Tiger, burning bright YouTube, Tiger, Tiger, burning bright everyone, and please welcome back my regular guest.
Hello there, this is James Uscroft, Ujames 1978, and Kill the Moon Jar at the ready.
Right, well, I want to begin actually with a bit of an anecdote, because I actually watched this at a public venue on big screens and things. I was at, some Whovians out there may know the name Derek Handley of Loose Cannon. They do the Telesnap reconstructions of missing episodes. And it was him and his wife's silver wedding anniversary, no less. And not only did we, stop to watch Doctor Who for 45 minutes, which is great, watching it in that kind of group environment, and then chatting about it afterwards. There was an MC who came out at the beginning of proceedings, and he said at one point, I do realise that we're pushed, that we have a tight schedule, because we're all going to have to pause everything at... what time is it? Is it 5:15? And immediately, and in perfect unison, the entire hall said, 8:20. This is how you know when people are fans. But yes. I thought that was at least going to laugh, James.
I'm sorry, it's just the episode. Let me purge myself of this bile, Alex. The bile.
Well, let me say something, because I've watched this twice now, and basically, and congratulations to Derek and Michelle on 25 years, and may there be many, many more. Basically, I thought this episode was full of wonder and whimsy. It was perhaps a little on the twee side.
Go ahead.
Obviously, it raises a continuity question, but what doesn't in Doctor Who? Because after that, humanity are in danger from solar flares multiple times. But anyway, but ignoring the bigger, well, I suppose that would technically be that would all be classic continuity. Environmental message, I'm sure that Doctor Who's had that before. Just while there were some tropes, some of it was a bit twee or a bit corny. I don't think they didn't have anything like the number of problems that Kill the Moon had.
No, it's just the general... If you just let me state it. Number one, there was no problem. Pretty much the premise of the episode is, oh my god, how are we going to fix this problem? There is no problem. These trees are the solution. We could all sit around eating cake for the next 45 minutes, and everything would be exactly the same. Oh, there is the whole thing of, but they're going to defoliate the trees, to which the kids basically send the mobile network service has been disrupted because of trees message. Oh yes, the government is going to listen to that. Maybe if they sent the message, oh my god, there are kids there, cease bombing, and my brain. But the other thing is this. I said Kill the Moon. The scientific consultants on that episode were the Spirit Science channel, if you know it, on YouTube. The word science, these people think that water is alive and has feelings and that Jews came from space. Oh, no, the forest is here to protect us because there are little glowing Tinkerbells. And as a mental health advocate, the number one thing that pissed me off, the classic emotionally disturbed / mentally ill / autistic little girl who is tuned into a higher plane of existence, who can see and hear things other people can't see and hear. And it's all magically solved at the end because her trauma is caused by the fact that her sister went missing. So now the Tinkerbells return her sister. How? Why? If the Tinkerbells took her, why did they take her in the first place? But the first place, never mind, just sit back and enjoy the happy ending. No, people don't overcome post-traumatic stress disorder because the thing that happened to them has been fixed. You know, if you suffer post-traumatic disorder because someone who you love has disappeared, you don't just overcome it because they come back.
Okay, I'm with you on the I'm kind of with you on the last point.
And sorry, I did miss. Yes, first of all, the previous 2 weeks, I have said that this one's going to have the worst misrepresentation of women, the worst misrepresentation of GSD characters. No, it had a really bad misrepresentation of mental health issues. So I was in the ballpark, and. The other thing is, at the beginning of the episode, I thought, oh, she's the little girl who grows up to be Missy, just like the black girl was the first incarnation of River Song before she regenerated. But no, the kid, Missy was there at the end. Apparently, she sent a message on the same frequency as the glowworms to try and get the...
We don't know that. It's a possibility.
Oh,
a child referring...
The whole thing is just such a... There is no logic. There is no reason. That, just because trees are there doesn't mean that the oxygen... doesn't mean that the oxygen rate increases that much. And, how can... but go ahead.
God, there's so much to say, and I slightly lost my thread there. Well, right, going back, rewinding, there weren't anything like as many science problems as there were with Kill the Moon.
As I say, this is... That was because that was trying to be science fiction. Oh my God, there's a breach in the hull. Space air is coming in. Quick, men, get your goggles. But this was just trying. This was what Kill the Moon would have been if it was all about. As I said jokingly, I can imagine the writer of this and the writer of Kill the Moon, but both being just as stupid, just as talentless, just as incapable of writing a logically coherent script as each other, having a major Barney a row in the BBC cafeteria every day. No space, no trees and people, no space, no trees and people. Because yes, that's the point Danny Pink makes when he says, no, I'm not going up to watch, because people are far more amazing than yes, and we must save the trees, etc., etc.
And the message of this one was a lot better and a lot better made and a lot clearer, a better message and made more clearly and competently than anything in Kill the Moon.
Yeah, oh, come on. But even so, twee, sappy, and level 4 in spades.
Okay, sappy, I'm going to have to get the pun jar.
You can taste the maple syrup. But we don't have maple trees in London. What? It just makes no sense. Thankfully, they did explain one thing. What? If you're not coming with me, then what was all of that rubbish about... What was all of that rubbish about saving some of us because I want to save you? Okay, you explained something. Thank you very much for that. It's the only way you'd go back to the TARDIS if you thought that you were saving other people. that's the only circumstance under which you go back to the TARDIS.
They explained the significance of a tree's wings and the whole.
I'll leave that alone. Accidentally getting a couple of things right. Even the first point. What the heck are a maths teacher and an English teacher doing on a natural history museum sleepover? But then, I suppose there are no natural history teachers. What would you have? A history teacher, biology teacher, geography teacher? I suppose it could be anyone. I guess. They did make it clear that the talented and gifted group was the quote-unquote emotionally disturbed group. So, it was just giving them a treat to help them feel better rather than actually being taught anything advanced. And the whole idea, but again, it's just, you seem stuck on this. No, it's not as bad as Kill the Moon. In some ways, yes. In other ways, no. It's worse, because on this one they're focusing on the relationships and the people and the emotions and fuck off.
It's a bit of a hippie tree hugger episode. I personally, I can get a bit gooey for that kind of thing, so it doesn't bother me.
Oh, and let's take a moment to marvel at the fact that, okay, we've got a forest, so let's quickly put in some wolves, make it Little Red Riding Hood. Oh, the second we saw her in a red coat, even during the next time trailer at the end of last week. Yeah, it's going to be Little Red Riding Hood, and then there's the wolves, and she's lost in the forest. But wait, the title of the episode is Tiger, Tiger Burning Bright. So having explained conveniently that the wolves escaped from a zoo whose fences had been mangled by the trees, the wolves were then chased off by a tiger, who in turn was chased off by Danny Pink, so that he had something to do in this episode instead of what you said you weren't with the Doctor anymore, that you had no contact. What, you haven't seen him for months and he doesn't even say hello.
If you jumped straight from a Hartnell episode to this, which we did, because I was thinking, this is when Koki refers to Ian or to Captain Kirk.
It's... But that's the thing, though. It is he is like Rory. He is the anchor to the real world. His whole speech about there are more amazing things here on Earth. I don't want to spend time exploring galaxies when I could be exploring a single person. Yes. Can we spot the subtext so carefully concealed there? Yes, just want you to admit the whole idea of Danny Pink, Clara, and Courtney being a homage to the original TARDIS crew, Ian, Barbara, and Susan. Just want to make sure that's dead now. Next week is the beginning of the finale. So.
Well, yeah, as I was barking up, maybe that was wish. That came up in conversation tonight, actually, that yes, that's what I was hoping that they would do, but you've also got to have the directional unit back up so that you're actually travelling through time and space, not knowing where and when you're going to go, or what kind.
But it really is just the romance novel cliche of the heroine's dilemma, of the exciting but uncaring TARDIS pilot versus the ordinary but loving maths teacher. Oh, which one shall I choose? A life with the Doctor or with Danny? As I say, it is just Amy and Rory Mark II, who in themselves were were Madame de Pompadour and the King of France, Mark II. It's whoever wrote this episode didn't write. Clara and Danny didn't write the relationship. All of that was set up in the Moffat episodes. So just this once, for the benefit of the audience, Moffat.
Okay. Yes. I just been meaning to say something because I take mental notes sometimes for these podcasts. Is that speaking as a lifelong Londoner, very early on in this episode, and all my 33 years I've lived in London, very early on in this episode, I went, I prefer it like that. Just saying, maybe that's why I went into this, like, loving it. It was like, cool. No, I'd love it.
The forest miraculously no, but that was one point. Moffat seems to be slipping in dark subconscious fears, the thing that everyone is afraid of. He's gotten hold of the Wikipedia page on the collective unconscious and other work by Jung. So, and this is his bastardization of it. Again, he didn't write this episode, but there were some helpful hints on this guy's script. And the whole thing of all humanity being afraid of forests. Oh, even Clara saying, "Oh, well, I'm always in danger. Why am I worried?" No, this isn't worried. This is terrified. It's the forest. It's in your fairy tales. It's in your nightmares. No. It was when we were mostly rural, when the forest was the place where anything, like fear of the dark, you're not afraid of the dark, you're afraid of what might be hiding, waiting to attack you in the dark. Same with the forest. Nowadays, when we are overwhelmingly urban, it is fear of dark alleys. The underlying fear is the same, but the manifestation of that fear has changed. Before, there once was a time, and there will still be cultures around the world where it's the fear of caves.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, though. If they're primal fears, there's also ideas that we have about race memory. There's some evidence that things like trauma can even make it into your DNA. These things last.
Again, that's really weird. But it's not about race memory, as I say. It's basically the Jungian idea that all humans are born with the same wiring, the same plumbing, for lack of a better term. The only thing that changes is what we put through it. So the civilization that worships the bird god and the civilization that worships the bull god and Muslims or Christians are all worshipping the same basic concepts. It's only the superficial details that change, if you see what I mean. So again, with this, whether it's forests or just darkness itself, or caves, or forests, or if you're urban, a dark alley. It's not the fear of the darkness itself, or the forest, or cave, or alley itself. It's what may be lying in wait for you. It is the extension of the basic survival instinct. So yes, throwing that in there again, trying to it's a trope at the end of the day. Same with the little girl who is emotionally disturbed and therefore can communicate with Tinkerbells. I've watched it. You've watched this episode twice now. I've watched it once. I'm not going to watch it again. Not because it's insulting, but because it's a waste of time. Is there anything in this episode that makes any kind of logical sense? As I say, they did explain Clara basically tricking the Doctor into getting him to go back to the TARDIS. And oh, for the love of the great holy donkey, that line about, I don't want to be the last of my kind, it would be so terrible to be the last of my species. Yes, Clara, crowbar that in there. Make sure we all remember. I thought the whole point of cancelling out the Time War, making sure that it didn't, making it as if by magic it never happened.
Right, yeah, okay. They've twice this season referred to the Doctor being the last of the Time Lords. I suppose because they are. Gallifrey is frozen in a moment of time and hidden. And from what I can gather from Time of the Doctor, has to stay that way, or the Time War will start up again, which is just selfish to the rest of the universe. The Time Lords, I would guess, brought the Doctor back, or gave the Doctor a whole new life cycle out of self-interest. That doesn't mean that he's going to do what they want. So in this universe, he is the last of his kind. And obviously, you can't. I suppose he can find Gallifrey, but he can't resurrect Gallifrey.
Oh, so come on then. The whole thing with making the Time War as if by magic magically never exists. That's all completely.
No. The Time War happened. It's the ending that's different. Instead of blowing everybody up, he simply tucked them away and protected them.
But that's what he did in the first place. That's why he was the last of the time. That's why he was the last of the Time Lords. And don't try to explain to me about, well, now last time he did this, but this time he did this. The whole point was, in the beginning, Christopher Eccleston, they explained it in the David Tennant era, Gallifrey was sealed off. It was in a time loop. Just him and the Master and any other Time Lords who they felt like bringing back. Because, oh yes, I'm the last of the Time Lords, except that I'm not.
Well, time locked is one thing, but then you have that they couldn't exist beyond a certain point in time. Now we know that they do, but
again, nerdy nitpicking.
In any case,
as I say, nothing in this episode makes any logical sense. None of it has any meaning. None of it has any relevance. It was just, let's do some more. Let's do some more soap opera rubbish with Danny and Clara. Make it clear that they're teachers. Let's bring out the mental health trope. Oh, and there's some trees and there's a solar flare.
Oh. Stop it. I mean, the thing is, I liked the tree huggy stuff because I'm a bit tree huggy myself. The references to fairy tales, because you forgot Hansel and Gretel.
Oh, come on.
I'm just being completed.
It's so obvious that no one should even have to say it. And the breadcrumbs, what kind of girl leaves her phone to mark a trail?
Very extreme circumstances.
The phone is still working, and instead of calling people to tell them where you are, you leave it as a marker on the trail. That's Homer Simpson logic, right?
See, oddly, the nitpicks I would have had is, because there's trees growing everywhere, well, they're still walking on soil, so what happened to the concrete? I suppose the trees had something to grow on, but then, okay, so the soil came...
to make it again.
I know, right, yes, I
know. Points I've made, and you're nitpicking about concrete.
And the oceans being covered by green as well. But yeah, well, yes, I'm just saying those were the things that I noticed. I think there's some, appropriately enough, poetic justice, even if the actual title, In the Forest of the Nights, yeah, there are no nighttime scenes in the entire episode. In fact, it gets brighter.
There is Alex.
The Forest of the...
There is
The
no,
Forest of the
there is
the
no
Forest of
connection between the title and the episode. The title is a lie.
No, I've just clocked it. It's what you're talking about, the unconscious thing.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right, yes, in our primal mentality, it's the Forest of the Night. The tiger burnt quite brightly. Actually, sorry. Now I'm on that subject.
Oh God! And the metaphorical significance of scaring it away by shining a torch in its eyes, the light driving away our primal fears. Oh, you are just too. Whoever wrote this, you are too pretentious. You are spending more time trying to prove how smart you are and deep and philosophical than actually writing an episode that makes any sense. What was I saying about this guy basically being a Moffat clone? Or at the very least a Moffat protege?
Anyway, no, I don't think it's pretentious. I think it's poetic, which reminds me of something I wanted to say at the beginning. So before we wind up, previously I had and no one corrected me. I said that The Tiger was by T.S. Eliot. It's not. It's by William Blake. And actually, I'm literally going to slap myself. Okay. So yes, I'm a huge fan of this poem. My mate David says, don't be too hard on yourself, Alex, because they both wrote poems about animals. So yeah, okay, they're both poetry about animals, guys. Hence my confusion. But no, so to the ghost of William Blake, I apologise. This was your poem. Okay, James, do you have any final thoughts? Any last thing to throw out there?
What a total waste of time. And can we talk about the Next Time trailer?
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yes, I'm not Clara. Clara never existed. That explains everything. That explains why you have as much character and depth as a used teabag. And, oh God, the fact that in the last episode you literally had to play the Doctor because you don't have a character of your own. Yes, and it's all part of Missy's evil plot. Yes, as I say, I thought that Maeve would turn out to be the the child version of Missy, but no. The whole thing about not caring that it's bigger on the inside, that's the self-aware jab of the week. What were you saying about not being pretentious, Alex? Oh, no. Well, obviously it's bigger on the inside. Oh, get lost. But, so next week is the finale, and this, aside from a brief glimmer in Flatliners, this godforsaken series will end. We'll finally find out that Missy is. Well, can I make the prediction?
Yeah.
Missy is the female version of the Master's sister, something like that. All of this foreshadowing of the last of your kind, Doctor. Obviously, he's not. He never is. Those words are only slightly less foreshadowy than, and the Daleks were gone forever.
Yes, there are so many reasons to think that Missy is, Missy could be short for the mistress. That there's Clara tapping on the book back in the Wi-Fi episode. The Bells of St. John was the one that's the name of it. Yes, I quite forgettable episode.
Yeah. And now it's pretty much established from the title that Clara and also the iPad scene at the end of Flatliners that I made such a good choice choosing you. It's clear that Clara is Missy's puppet. That it's all a vast, gigantic trap to ensnare the Doctor.
And puts a different complexion on the past 2 years, interestingly. Although, to be honest, if the whole Clara never existed, yada yada thing were of any consequence. I don't think Jenna Coleman would be in the Christmas special, but there could be wibbly wobbly ways to explain that, but that's speculation. Other reasons to think Missy's the Master, possibly that it's like a feminized Master costume, if you think about it. And gosh, I can't keep them all in my head, but can I say the main one? Can I say the clincher for Missy being the Master?
Go ahead.
Which is that Stephen Moffat categorically stated he would never bring the Master back. And historically, that means that means he will. So she is. But at least it's a different spin on it.
The God complex, again, total misrepresentation of mental health issues.
Okay. I'm not sure if it necessarily applies to aliens. I mean, I accept the sound of drums, or I see the sound of drums as a representation of my own OCD, and I relate in that way. Which, yes, I know that could be seen as quite offensive and problematic. The Master is a dangerous, callous son of a bitch, but they're aliens. Come
on, how many excuses are we going to make? But again, enough Moffat. Oh, there's never enough Moffat bashing, James. How dare you say that?
But I don't know. I think it's very interesting at the party tonight to talk to real life Doctor Who fans rather than internet Doctor Who fans, and the buzz here seemed to be that this was a really great season, and that they are succeeding in giving us something fresh. And yes, Peter Capaldi does feel like a classic series Doctor because he's got more edge. I personally would say I wouldn't agree based on the first half of the season generally. I think the second half of the season, the second half is usually better. The second half usually has better stories than the first half with any season of New Who. One person I said that to actually said, yes, except for when the second half of a season has love and monsters in it. So, whatever, the exception that proves the rule. I would say, the thing is, okay, if there were such a thing as being completely objective over a piece of art, literature, what have you, then Flatline probably is the top one, and knowing Moffat's track record, Moffat's track record with finales, the Pandorica two-parter, I actually really like. When they did the next one, which is when the Tesselector was the explanation, on the paper he wasn't cheating, but I think in terms of the spirit of things he was. That was a bit shaky. And then season 7 didn't really have a finale because of the anniversary, and also the fact that everyone agreed that most of the second half of season 7 sucked nuts. That's pretty much universal. So actually, Moffat has done one good, solid season finale. So we don't know that the next 2 episodes work, and I'll be doing live reactions to those, folks. My point though is, even though I would actually say probably objectively Flatline is the best and will probably remain the best of the season, I really loved this episode. I know the only reason that it was a tiger rather than some other animal is to help justify the title, because the title sounds good because it's from a poem. I know any number of things. Maybe it's just the tree hugger in me.
Yes, it's like Stuart Hardy, He Who Moans, explaining why he likes The Beast Below. I think that's the episode. Yeah. With the space whale and the voting and so on and so forth. Okay, there was far too much crammed in. The story made absolutely no sense. The political allegory was far too heavy-handed. We couldn't let your children cry rubbish was sappy and overdone. Actually, there is no reason why I like this. I just do.
Yeah. I actually probably feel the same way. People criticise The Beast Below, and a lot of people don't like it. But it's one that I really love. I think perhaps something about The Beast Below really rings true. When that season was on, I was a professional charity fundraiser. So the idea of people choosing to erase their memory of the suffering and carry on as they were, you see that in the eyes of people door after door after door. It's just true. So Moffat touched upon something very, very true there. Would most people allow that to continue happening, which kind of is a metaphor for the way the world is? Yeah, you will continue to allow slavery and suffering and sustain your own way of life, and you will.
This is my overarching point with that ending. Oh God, I'm going to have nightmares about it. Oh, and we just have to bring the sister back. Why? Because we can't let the people feel sad. It doesn't matter that it makes any sense. It doesn't matter that it's literally in the last few seconds the glowworms make her appear for no reason. It is never explained why she disappeared. The only reason she disappeared was to give for there to be a reason for the girl to be emotionally traumatized and to give a solution which would make people feel better at the end. What was the point I was going to make? That was it. Spending so much time and so much effort trying to put across your grand emotive message, which applies to all humanity, which represents all humanity, and to prove how clever and poetic you are. You forget the actual script, the story. Does it make any logical sense? And they all ride away on golden unicorns made of chocolate to the land of blowjobs. Why? How? Where did the unicorns come from? How can they fly without melting? Who cares? It's a happy ending. Just sit back and enjoy the happy ending. No, and the idea that people actually say this is the best season ever, or that it's living up to its mission statement. The only thing on which I disagree with Stuart Hardy, he who moans, he actually likes Mummy on the Orient Express. Again, for some reason which defies all laws of God.
What? You pretty much liked it. He loved it.
I liked the underlying premise. There was potential there, but it was destroyed in favour of. But it was hacked to pieces and reduced to a subplot in favour of I don't hate you, but I can't do this anymore. Oh, I've suddenly decided I'm going to carry on as I am. Rubbish. But it's just more of the same rubbish. So to say yes, this is a great season and Moffat is really doing what he said he would do, that just goes to show how far standards have dropped. Whether it's Frozen or the original Avengers movie a couple of years ago, or the basic point was people don't care if the plot makes no sense as long as it makes you feel good, as long as everything's wrapped up by the end. But one thing, Alex, I can't believe you haven't mentioned this, Doctor Who dissed Les Miserables.
Oh yeah, that's so bizarre. Particularly, it's actually Sherlock did that this year as well. There were insults levelled at because Mycroft has to Sherlock and Mycroft's parents are in town, and they're surprisingly normal. And Mycroft has to, because of course folks are visiting London. Mycroft gets dragged to see Les Mis with the folks, and tries to persuade Sherlock to go in his place. Sherlock gets a phone call, and you can hear, "Do you hear the people sing?" in the background, and Mycroft is screaming. Yes, like dragging you to a musical, James.
Well, Les Miserables was bearable. Well, no, not bearable. It was actually it was one of the few musicals that I could not only survive but actually appreciate. And I did the whole review of it. It has its flaws. It has the underlying problem of why is it a musical? But overall, it worked. I did tear up at the very end. Do you hear the people sing? But no, again, just the comparison, Sherlock and Capaldi, Sherlock and the Doctor. First of all, I think Claudia Boleyn recently did a quiz. Can you even tell the difference between them?
Oh, yeah.
And yes, again, just another example of the complete inability to represent anything factual, truthful, or in the realm of truth regarding mental health issues. Because if you're a neuroatypical man, then you're grouchy, grumpy, bitter, antisocial, pretentious, and lots of other mean and nasty words. And if you're an emotionally traumatized girl, then suddenly you can talk to fairies. And no, it's not a delusion because fairies are real.
Actually, that's a bit sort of dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. The grumpy old bastard bit is a stereotype, but the myth that is constantly put forward to try and reassure people, no, emotionally disturbed, like the myth that people who become blind or deaf, their other senses become heightened in order to compensate. It's a fairy story, following on from the whole theme of this episode. It's a fairy story that we tell ourselves to make ourselves feel better. No, this child is mentally ill or emotionally disturbed or neuroatypical. Don't worry, because she can hear things no one else can hear. She can live in her own magical world where everything is beautiful. Bullshit! And just to explain why I was angry and I yelled there, because this is so serious for anyone who doesn't understand. No, these children are suffering. They are terrified and in pain. The little throwaway line, again, whoever wrote this trying to understand, she's lost in the forest. This is what lost people do. And then the fairies come in to show, no, it's all magical, really. No, they are suffering, they are alone, they are in pain, no one understands them, and us simply saying, no, it'll be okay, they're living in their own magical little world, is the worst possible reaction. It is what you were saying about the beast below, Alex. People literally choosing to forget, to ignore, to turn a blind eye because they either don't know how to help or they don't care. And rant over.
So we took a rather serious turn there, and although I do agree, I think that yes, that's a legitimate point about something problematic.
Yes,
in this episode.
The trope which I dissected in a recent YouTube video, that mentally ill equals violent, dangerous serial killer or what have you. This trope is actually harmful. People suffer because other people believe this. Cut that shit out.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a final thought and goodbye?
Well, basically, if our emotional reactions are what colour our overall perception of an episode or any piece of fiction, then yes, I would say the fact that being tree-huggy by nature, it was the trees that coloured your perception of this episode, the fact that you felt warm and safe, etc. And again, the whole point was you're supposed to be scared of the forest, but it's a beautiful and friendly forest, giving away the fact that no, the trees are there to save us. But either way, though, your reaction was coloured by that, the fact that you're much more willing to forgive illogic, etc., as long as it works. But for me, first of all, the Little Red Riding Hood rubbish, all of the pretentious rubbish about fairy tales and the collective unconscious and so forth. But the mental health trope is what sealed it. That is the one thing I cannot forgive. I cannot let go. Because, as I say, this does actually hurt people. And may the great holy donkey bless anyone who works to break this down, this myth, this comfortable fantasy, and bless their house for 7 generations.
Aha. Okay. And the final thought that I'm going to end on is this. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dread grasp dare its deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry?